You think empty store shelves are a thing of the past? Think again, because thanks to Donald Trump's latest tariff blitz, your next trip to Walmart might look a whole lot like March 2020, minus the toilet paper panic. Let's cut to the chase. Trump jacked up tariffs on Chinese goods to 145%. That's not a typo. 145%, the highest level in over a century. You don't need an economics degree to understand what that means. It's a trade war, full throttle, and this time it's not just political posturing, it's hitting supply chains, businesses, markets, and very soon, your wallet. Already, cargo shipments from China to the US have nosedived. One estimate says they're down by as much as 60%. Let that sink in. That's like cutting off oxygen to a system built on just-in-time delivery. So far, the effects haven't been fully felt by the average consumer, but that's about to change, fast. By the middle of May, thousands of companies, big and small, will need to replenish their inventories. That includes everyone from mom-and-pop toy shops to giants like Walmart and Target, and they're sounding the alarm. According to insiders, they told Trump directly last week if this keeps up, shoppers are going to see higher prices, thinner selections, and possibly empty shelves. Again. Torsten Slok, chief economist at Apollo Management, didn't sugarcoat it. He warned of looming COVID-like shortages and widespread layoffs across trucking, logistics, and retail. You remember the feeling in 2020 when everything ground to a halt? He's saying that's coming again, only this time it's man-made. And look, while Trump has shown some signs he might be open to softening the import taxes, many experts say it might already be too late. The supply shock is building, and it could stretch all the way to Christmas. Jim Gerson, president of the Gerson's Companies, knows this pain firsthand. His company, which sells holiday decorations and candles to major U.S. retailers, has over 250 containers stuck in limbo, waiting to ship. More than half his products come from China. This isn't just a delay, it's a threat to an entire sales cycle. We have to get this worked out, Gerson said, and hopefully very soon. This isn't some fringe business, this is a company that does about $100 million in annual sales, and he's not alone. Even if negotiations start tomorrow, restarting trans-Pacific trade is not like flipping a switch. Freight companies have slashed capacity to adjust to falling demand, and if there's suddenly a rush to import, the system won't be able to handle it. Think of ports, trucks, warehouses, all designed for smooth, steady flow. They're not built for stop-and-go chaos. Lars Jensen, CEO of Vespucci Maritime, put it bluntly, ports are designed for stable flows, not the off-again, on-again volume shifts. The surge would overwhelm logistics networks, causing delays, congestion, and yet again, higher costs. Jay Foreman, the CEO of toymaker Basic Fun, put it even more starkly. His company supplies big names like Amazon and Walmart. 90% of his products come from China. Right now, everything's paralyzed. He calls these tariffs a de facto embargo. He says buyers have been putting orders on hold, but if things don't change quickly, they'll start canceling outright. There's a couple weeks, then it really starts to hurt, Foreman said. His company pulls in about $200 million a year. These aren't small-time players, and yet even they're scrambling for answers. If this feels like déjà vu, you're not alone. Many executives are comparing this to the early days of the pandemic. But there's a big difference. We didn't see COVID coming. We see it coming, plain as day. And the longer it drags on, the worse it gets. Now, here's where it gets even more complicated. China says it's evaluating the possibility of trade talks with the U.S. That's the first real signal from Beijing since Trump raised tariffs that maybe, just maybe, negotiations could be on the table. China's Commerce Ministry released a statement saying they've noted senior U.S. officials expressing a willingness to talk and emphasized the need for sincerity from Washington. They added that the U.S. has recently sent messages to China through relevant parties, hoping to start talks, and that China is currently evaluating this. That statement alone had a noticeable impact. U.S. stock futures turned positive in Asia, the Hang Seng China Enterprises Index jumped more than 1%, and even the Australian dollar, often seen as a proxy for Chinese economic sentiment, rallied. The offshore yuan also gained about 0.3%. Clearly, markets are hungry for any sign that this standoff might end. John Gong, a former consultant to China's Commerce Ministry, described this as the first rain after a long drought. He says there's a clear signal that China's top leadership is preparing for negotiations, deciding who will lead them, what the strategy will be, and how to handle Washington. It's not all rosy, though. The economic fallout from this confrontation is brutal. The United States economy actually contracted at the start of the year, largely due to a massive surge of imports ahead of the tariff spike. Meanwhile, in China, factory activity dropped into its worst slump since December 2023. New export orders are at their lowest since the Shanghai lockdowns in 2022. Both sides are hurting, badly. But get this, out of China's total exports, the US makes up less than 15%, and it's been increasing exports to the EU and other countries since the first trade war back in 2018, reducing dependence on US consumers. Yet there are still hurdles. Beijing reportedly wants Washington to appoint a negotiator with Trump's backing, someone who can bring a deal to the table that both leaders can sign. Until that happens, China's not fully committing. And here's another twist. Trump just made a surprise move by expanding Secretary of State Marco Rubio's portfolio. Rubio, a vocal China critic, is now also serving as interim national security advisor. Yes, you heard that right. The same Rubio who's been sanctioned by Beijing is now wearing two hats in U.S. foreign policy. He wasted no time making noise. On Fox News, Rubio claimed that China is reaching out because the tariffs are hammering their economy. He said they're looking for a short-term accommodation with the U.S. Still, as of now, the White House and the major economic departments haven't issued any official response. The silence is telling. Meanwhile, back in the shipping lanes, the situation is getting worse. According to Bloomberg, about 40 cargo ships recently departed China bound for the U.S., down 40% from early April. They're carrying roughly 320,000 containers. That's a third fewer than before the tariffs kicked in. And it's only going to shrink further if nothing changes. Some U.S. importers are racing to shift orders to countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand to cushion the blow. Carriers like Hapag-Lloyd report that while bookings from China are down 30%, demand from Southeast Asia is surging. But that kind of pivot takes time. It's not as simple as flipping suppliers. The goods might be different, quality may vary, and logistics are messy. And let's not forget, if everyone shifts to Southeast Asia at once, those countries will face the same bottlenecks. Meanwhile, canceled sailings from China to the U.S. are piling up. In April alone, there were 80 canceled routes. That's 60% more than during any single month of the COVID pandemic. Think about that. Even during a global shutdown, we had more shipping activity than we do now. The World Trade Organization is warning that goods traded between the U.S. and China could drop by as much as 80%. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went even further, calling the current situation essentially a trade embargo. And here's the kicker. All of this, the shortages, the job losses, the potential recession, could be reversed in a matter of days if Trump pulls the tariffs. That's what makes it so maddening for businesses. The solution is right there. But for now, politics is in the driver's seat. Jay Foreman summed it up best. This has the potential to be more treacherous because the longer this goes, the more catastrophic it is. He's seen this movie before, and this time he says the ending could be even worse. So, yeah, this isn't just about China. It's about school supplies, holiday gifts, groceries, toys, electronics, your everyday life. The tariffs might feel like some far-off economic strategy, but they're about to show up in your cart, your bills, and maybe even your paycheck. If you want to stay ahead of how this all plays out and what it means for your wallet, hit that subscribe button.